Hello, I'm Ebtisam, PhD student at the University of Cluj-Napoca in Romania. I will present you the research paper on the subject Inclusion of Children with Developmental Gaps in Kindergartens. This research paper delves into the practice and significance of inclusive education in Israeli kindergartens, with a particular emphasis on children with developmental gaps. In today's diverse and inclusive society, the education system plays a pivotal role in promoting equal opportunities and providing quality education for all children. One essential aspect of inclusive education is the inclusion of children with developmental gaps in kindergartens. Developmental gaps refers to the differences in cognitive, physical, emotional, or social development that children may experience compared to their peers. These gaps can manifest in various ways, including learning disabilities, speech delays, motor skills impairments, or behavioral challenges. The inclusion of children with developmental gaps in kindergartens is of paramount importance as it upholds the principle of equality, non-discrimination, and social integration. It recognizes that every child has the right to receive an education tailored to their needs, regardless of their unique abilities or challenges. By providing inclusive education from the early years, we set the foundation for a more inclusive and compassionate society. This essay aims to explore the inclusion of children with developmental gaps in kindergartens with a specific focus on the context of Israel. We will examine the principle and the policies of inclusive education in Israel and delve into the legal framework and regulations that supports the inclusion of children with developmental gaps in kindergartens. Furthermore, we will explore the benefits of inclusion for both children with developmental gaps and their typically developing peers. By analyzing empirical evidence and studies, we aim to shed light on the positive impact of inclusion on the overall development, academic achievement, and social-emotional well-being of all children. Additionally, we will investigate the concept of inclusive education in Israeli kindergartens using a structured approach similar to the one proposed by HAMAD and Ingalls. We will address the challenges faced by kindergartens in implementing inclusive practices, strategies to overcome these challenges, and emphasize the crucial role of parental and community involvement in supporting inclusive education have been discussed by Manskog and McDonald. Through this comprehensive exploration, we aim to contribute to the understanding of inclusive education and providing insight and recommendation for promoting the inclusion of children with developmental gaps in kindergartens, ultimately fostering a more inclusive and equitable educational environment in Israel. Quantitative tools. Internet self-filling questionnaires for pre-compulsory and compulsory kindergartens. The questionnaires were sent via a link to email address and phone numbers. The link were forwarded to 213 kindergartens. Of these, 146 kindergarten managers filled out the questionnaires, which is 69% response rate. Qualitative tools. Protocols for the focus group with the kindergartens, assistants, and parents. 6 focus groups were held for the kindergartens, the assistants, and for the parents. All groups were held online on Zoom. Between 10 to 16 participants participated in each of the groups. In this part, I will refer to the main finding that emerged from the research. The finding will relate in the attitude and the perception of the kindergartens and the parents regarding inclusion in kindergartens, the professional development and skills of the kindergarten staff, the kindergarten teacher and the assistant, the challenges in the work of the kindergarten manager and the source of assistance and support, and the relationship between the kindergarten staff and the parents. The attitudes and the perceptions of kindergarten teachers and parents regarding inclusion in kindergartens. Kindergarten teachers' positions and perception regarding inclusion in kindergartens. To promote successful inclusion in kindergartens, diverse knowledge, skills, and practices are needed. Successful implementation of inclusive practices depends on the attitudes and perceptions of kindergartens regarding children with gaps and their willingness to work with them in kindergartens. As mentioned, most kindergartens in the world support the idea of integration and inclusion. Their concerns regarding the implementation of inclusion and integration stem from the lack of knowledge and skills regarding inclusive practices, the lack of appropriate professional preparation, and the lack of sufficient support. The data shows that even among the kindergartens in the study, there is a differences between their value positions toward inclusion and between their positions related to the implementation of inclusion. Kindergartens reported positive value attitudes towards inclusion, but at the same time, they expressed concerns and noted that there are various challenges in the implementation of inclusion. The lack of actual experience in inclusion, the lack of training in the subject of inclusion, the lack of the resources available to the kindergarten teacher. The professional development and skills of the kindergarten staff, kindergarten teachers, and assistants. Professional development in the field of inclusion can provide kindergartens with a lot of knowledge and work practices so that they feel confident working with children with disabilities and form positive attitude and perception towards inclusion. The kindergarteners were asked if they received training on inclusion and integration as a part of their professional development. 59% of the roofers reported that they had not received training. One of the main issues that emerged from the focus group with the kindergarteners was their desire and need for professional development, training, and skills relevant to the implementation of inclusion in kindergartens. As mentioned, we are just reinventing ourselves. It's a lot of trial and error. And I think if we have the professional tools, professional to guide us, I think, first of all, it will be more professional and it will also help the inclusion of all the children because it also takes lots and lots of energy. From the focus group held with the assistants, an experience of burden and the pressure emerged following the inclusion of children with disabilities in kindergartens. According to the assistants, there are two main reasons for feeling overwhelmed and stressed. The first reason, the large number of children in the kindergarten, from 30 to 35. And the second reason, the increased attention that the child with a disability requires from the staff. A situation that in most cases comes at the expense of all children in the kindergartens. An assistant shared, "It was very difficult for me. I could not do anything for the other children because I had no help. Until I called the municipality in tears and asked for help. I didn't know what was going on." The assistants raised another difficulty in dealing with the parents who refused to acknowledge their child's difficulty, which creates a challenge in communication between the staff and those parents. The assistants pointed to a lack of professional training in the field of special education intended for them. The relationship between the kindergarten staff and the parents. The relationship between the kindergarten staff and the children's parents has a significant effect on their cooperation as well as on the commitment of the parents to care for their children. The kindergarten teachers reported a positive relationship with the parents. 98% of the kindergarten teachers reported that the parents are informed about the child's condition and functioning. 95% of the kindergarten teachers reported that the parents are in contact with her. A lower rate of kindergarteners, about 62%, reported that the parents are partners in building a work plan for their child. From the focus group held with the kindergarteners, they noted that there is a need to raise awareness of the issue of inclusion among all parents in the kindergarten. Explain to them about the issue, define what is expected of them as a parent, and so on, so that they know how to explain to their children and help the process of inclusion. One kindergarten teacher shared, "We must inform the parents of all the children in the kindergarten that there is a child with a disability, that they explain to their children, know the different concepts." The kindergarten teachers emphasized the importance that parents should be vigilant in order to identify their child at an early age and give him a support system. The parents should recognize the problem and mobilize to treat and promote the child. In the focus group held with the parents, they expressed their views regarding the relationship with the kindergarten teacher. According to them, the staff should know how to have a dialogue with the parents, accept criticism from them, and express their difficulties with the parents. As mentioned, communication between the parents and the staff is very important. The trust that, in my view, must be created between the educational staff and the parents. The cooperation, how safe the parents feel to share and ask for and receive help. It is also emerged from the focus group that the parents are interested in the possibility of accompaniment and advice from the kindergarten teacher who is with the children most of the day. Also, there were parents who believed that it was important to have continuous contact with all the parents in the kindergarten so that the inclusion would work well and that the climate in the kindergarten would be optimal. What is the most important to me in this kindergarten is that the kindergarten teacher treats every child. If it's on the phone with the parents, she initiates the conversation herself, she calls and asks. She updates everything, she regularly talks to all the parents. Throughout this essay, our exploration has centered on the integration of children with developmental gaps into Israeli kindergartens. We have navigated through the principles and policies underpinning inclusive education in Israel, the legal infrastructure bolstering inclusion, and instances of triumph in implementing inclusive practices within kindergarteners. Furthermore, we have illuminated the dividend of inclusion for children with developmental gaps and their typically developing counterparts. The journey also encompassed the hurdles encountered during the pursuit of inclusive education and the strategic pathway to surmount these challenges. Lastly, we have underscored the pivotal roles of parental and community participation, showcasing successful collaborative endeavors with Israel. Recommendation for further advancement. Training needs for educators and support staff. To effectively promote inclusion in kindergartens, educators and support staff require specialized training and ongoing professional development. Inclusive pedagogy. Educators need training in inclusive pedagogy, which induce strategies for differentiating instructions, adapting materials, and creating inclusive learning environments. This training equips them with the knowledge and skills to address the diverse needs of children with developmental gaps. Collaboration and teamwork. Building effective partnership among educators, support staff, therapists, and families is essential for implementing inclusive practices. Training programs should emphasize the importance of collaboration and teamwork to support the holistic development of children with developmental gaps. Understanding developmental gaps. Educators should receive training on various developmental gaps, their characteristics, and the appropriate instruction approaches and interventions. This knowledge enhances their ability to meet the unique needs of children with different developmental gaps. Strategies for promoting inclusion in Israeli kindergartens. To promote triumphant inclusion within Israeli kindergartens, several strategic pathways are recommended. Individualized support. Provide individualized support plans for children with developmental gaps, tailored to their specific needs and strength. This may involve the use of specialized environments, assistive technology, and accommodation to ensure their active participation in all aspects of kindergarten life. Collaborative partnership. Foster collaboration and partnership among educators, families, therapists, and community organizations. By working together, a coordinated support network can be created to meet the diverse needs of children with developmental gaps and ensure continuity of support across different settings. Professional learning communities. Establish professional learning communities within kindergartens and across school to facilitate knowledge sharing, collaboration, and ongoing professional development related to inclusive education. These communities provide opportunities for educators to learn from one another and continuously improve their inclusive practices. Universal design for learning. Apply the principle of UDL, which involves designing learning experiences that are accessible and beneficial for all children, including those with developmental gaps. This approach ensures that instructional materials, activities, and assessments are flexible and cater to diverse learning styles and needs. Thank you for listening.